If you guys can let me know when I'm live on YouTube, I'll be happy to hear that. I think I'm live on YouTube
Yes,
now.
we're live.
Okay.
Yep.
Good, thank you. Let me close this tab and let me get a presentation ready here. Sorry, guys, I did not sleep last night. I was following the results of the elections, so I'm still like, I'm gonna finish this and just crash to bed. And what's happening here? It doesn't recognize the Canva link. I see why it doesn't recognize. Okay. My own fault. Okay, I see this. Okay, this is it. Presentation ready. And we do have some audio in this presentation. So let me go now and do this. Okay. Oh, I also need to record. Hold on a second. All right, welcome back to another CryptoVagabonds Q&A. Let's get started straight to Trump's election, the US election and Trump's victory. Sorry about that. Let me just jump straight to sharing my screen. Let me know when you guys can see my screen so I can continue with this. So the screen is visible to everyone?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
so all right, just remember that everything we produce across all platforms is only for informational, educational, entertainment purpose only. We do not produce any content that is to be interpreted as financial tax or legal advice. Remember that this Q&A does occur every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also interact with us in Clubhouse Tuesday to Friday at 7 a.m. in the morning Eastern Time. We're also going to be making new rooms in the afternoon. I'll let you guys know about that one. And of course, you can always interact with us here on YouTube, Instagram, and X. Now, today we're going to be talking about the victory of Donald Trump or the victory of the Republicans. So Donald Trump won, and the question is, so now what? And I hope to point you guys to some direction on where can we go forward and what does that mean to the crypto market. So the roadmap of today is I want to be talking about why Kamala Harris lost, or why the Democrats lost, at least in my view. Lost not just in terms of the election, but also they lost some support. We're going to be then looking towards what caused Donald Trump's victory, the implications of those victory, and also action steps for moving forward. I think it's very important after such victory of any political party, what can we do next? What is our next step? What I find impressive to me, and forgive me here, this is the first election that I follow closely in my life. I have never followed any election in the past. I never believed in election. However, I have followed this one. And last time we checked, Donald Trump has got 292 delegates. He needs 270 in order to be elected. Kamala Harris has 224. But it's not just the victory of Trump over Kamala Harris or Republicans over Democrats. It's the victory on the government level. 26 of states of the US have Republican governors. In the House, 175. On the Senate, 50 to 42. And of course, in the presidential campaign, the numbers have been updated, 292 to 224. So it's a massive win of the Republicans. And I'm going to be speaking of my opinion as an outsider. I'm not trying to trigger anything within the American population. I'm just going to be giving the view as an outsider, and then we're going to be talking about the view from the inside, if some of you guys are Americans and if you like discussing this. To me, the Democrats lost a lot of support for a few factors. I think there's a few factors that have contributed to this. One of the factors to me is I think they attacked the family, the nuclear family. I think most of the people in the world, regardless of their view on religion, They tend to be conservative. They don't want to see people messing with their kids. And I think there are a few things messing to their kids. And I also think she didn't really have, at least as outside, a plan. We didn't see leadership on her. I'm talking about the European perspective. There was a concern about her as a leader. There was no leadership skills on her part. And I have made jokes here about how would Vladimir Putin go to his population and say, listen, we had plan A, now I have to go to plan B because I spoke to Kamala Harris. And I heard a woman in America saying this. So that was one of the factors. The other one is, I think, from 2020 to now, the Democratic Party have made some mistakes. And I think they could see, at least here, again, from outside, Biden was not running the show. Kamala was not in charge. And there was this question, geopolitically speaking, from the world outside, like, who is running America? Like, they could clearly see there was no Biden. So those were things that had contributed, I think, to some of the shift. But also some domestic views like Elon Musk, he's not Native American. He's born in South Africa, but he's American resident and citizen now. So here's his view. And I saw this quite recently. I think this may have triggered some of the shift on people leaving the Democratic Party and going to Republican.
They're transporting large numbers of illegals to swing states. If you look at the numbers, these are the numbers from the government website. So like from the Democrat-administered government websites. Like, where do you get this data? From the government website that is run by Democrats. And there are triple-digit increases in illegals to all the swing states. And in some cases, it's like 700% over the last 3 years. Now, these swing state margins are, sometimes 10, 20,000 votes. So what happens if you put, hundreds of thousands of people into each swing state? And when somebody is granted asylum, they are fast-tracked. They can get a green card, and then 5 years after the green card, they can get citizenship and they can fully legally vote. And when they do so, they vote overwhelmingly Democrat.
I'm Rhonda Gotine, OG
sometimes they get
with
this rebuttal
Erica.
of like, well, their social values don't align.
I just forgot my badge.
Sort of the far left sort of woke.
She knows I'm here.
That's true.
Yeah,
but,
she knows I'm here. She's
but that's
coming to
not their
get
top
me.
priority. Their top
Thank
priority is
you.
getting their friends and family
Thank
also to
you.
the United States. And the
How are
Dems
you
also
today?
issue all these programs, these sort of. Now,
Awesome.
these swing state margins are.
I think I have a problem. I think someone has a hot mic.
Yes,
I'm sorry about that.
trying to mute it, but I don't have the option for some reason.
Yeah, because you're not,
Notary?
you should have come and
Thank
become
you.
the,
Oh, you're busy, huh?
Notorious. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I was texting. I'm like, I'm
Let me
gonna check
stop
into
sharing
it.
second
Okay,
this.
I'm here. Don't worry.
Can you mute her? You should have the option.
yeah,
Is
is it,
that
who is that?
It's Notorious.
Notorious, okay. Let me go back to the presentation. We're gonna have to cut this off of the editing.
As mentioned before, that's not possible on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me go there.
They're transporting large numbers of illegals to swing states. If you look at the numbers, these are the numbers from the government website. So like from the Democrat-administered government websites. Like, where do you get this data? From the government website that is run by Democrats. And there are triple-digit increases in illegals to all the swing states. And in some cases, it's like 700% over the last 3 years. Now, these swing state margins are, sometimes 10, 20,000 votes. So what happens if you put, hundreds of thousands of people into each swing state? And when somebody is granted asylum, they are fast-tracked. They can get a green card, and then 5 years after the green card, they can get citizenship and they can fully legally vote. And when they do so, they vote overwhelmingly Democrat. And sometimes I get this rebuttal of like, well, a lot of them, their social values don't align with sort of the far left sort of woke ideology.
Yeah.
I said, that's true, but that's not their top priority. Their top priority is getting their friends and family also to the United States. And the Dems also issue all these programs, these sort of handouts, essentially, that make them beholden to the Democratic Party. So they vote Dem. that's what happens. So my prediction is if there's another 4 years of a Dem administration, they will legalize so many illegals that are there that the next election there won't be any swing states, and we'll be a single party country.
So I'm not sure how much of this is true. I have checked with some people, and some of them say that this is true in their state. And to me, like, if you have a single party country, that's China. So I think that was one other thing that have caused this shift in support. Also, other thing that have contributed to that is definitely wars. With Donald Trump, the invasion in Ukraine has paused. People may not know this because everything now is about the new invasion, but the invasion of Ukraine began in 2014 under the Obama administration and continued to increase under the Obama administration. It paused during the years of Donald Trump, and then, of course, it continued after Biden. But of course, that's not the narrative of the media. Everyone believes the invasion began recently, but no, it has started before that. So there's multiple wars in the globe, and geopolitically, people are blaming the Democratic administration in the US, the conflict in Gaza. There's a wider Middle East, Sudan, Ukraine, and other tensions in other countries. So that to me is another factor that may have contributed to the shift on support. Another thing is the assault on freedom of speech that has been placed by the Democratic Party. So here's, for instance, again, Elon Musk talking about that.
If you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have democracy, okay? Because if you don't have freedom of speech, people cannot make an informed vote. If they're just being fed propaganda, and there's no freedom of speech, democracy is an illusion. So freedom of speech is the bedrock of democracy. That's why freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Once you lose freedom of speech, you lose democracy. Game over. That's why I voted.
So I'm not sure how much of this is true, but I have a lot of things I don't appreciate about Elon Musk. But two things that I have to agree and appreciate is he apparently bought Twitter, which is not a platform called X, in order to preserve the freedom of speech, which I agree completely. Another thing that he has done now, apparently, he supported Donald Trump because he believed if the Republicans don't win, that will be the end of democracy. The issue to me is not about him being right or wrong. If that's his belief and that's what motivated him, I start to have a much greater respect for him as an individual. One thing is to respect him for his achievements as a capitalist and entrepreneur, but I respect his convictions and his belief. Another thing is people now say that Donald Trump is the enemy of democracy. He's the enemy of freedom of speech. The guy who put $40 billion on the line to defend freedom of speech, he cannot afford to make a mistake in terms of choosing which candidate is or is not against liberties or freedom of speech or democracy. So I think that was what caused the shift towards Donald Trump. Now, who switched their support from the Democratic Party into Trump? So let's talk about who did it and what was their motivation. So RFK, former Democrat, he decided to back Donald Trump. So I think, and again, I could be wrong about this, he saw the efforts to silence independent voices and to restrain control and to use the judicial system against politicians. I think that was what motivated him, according to his own words. And again, he was a Democrat. He tried to run and he decided to support Donald Trump. So another person who used to be part of the Democratic Party, Tulsi Gabbard, and I really hope, this is my own wish here, I really hope that she's running for the next election since Donald Trump cannot be reelected. And this is her reason.
I'll tell you a brief personal story. 2 weeks after Trump was elected in 2016, I was invited to go and speak to him about foreign policy, about how to defeat radical Islam and terrorist groups like ISIS and al-Qaeda. And just for meeting with Trump, almost all Democrats in Congress and those on TV resoundingly criticized me for humanizing Trump. How dare you? And they were so angry about this because it directly undermined what they were trying to do in dehumanizing Trump and everyone who voted for him, the so-called deplorables, because they couldn't defeat him on substance.
So I really wish she was on the bill for this time, but she isn't. But is, again, one person who was on the Democratic Party. Again, from an outside, I found out about her a few months prior to the election. I find incredible sense of integrity on her. She's one person who was on the Democratic Party who shifted to Republican support Donald Trump. Again, when you have a lot of money, you can't afford to make certain mistakes. Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post, they were supporting Democratic for 36 years, 34, 35 years. This year, they did not directly support Donald Trump, but they stopped supporting the Democrats. And that to me is a strong signal to the market. It's not direct support to Trump, but makes people question why he's no longer supporting the Democratic Party. And another thing that I think caused a lot of people to shift away from the Democratic Party was Disney's support of the Democrats. So now, to me, there's a hard truth that Americans don't trust the media. And again, this is the article from Jeff Bezos. That's what he says. Look, our profession is now the least trusted of all. Something we're doing is clearly not working. So I'll say the Democratic Party, something that you're doing is not working because this is massive defeat. So let me give an analogy. Voting machines must meet two requirements. They must count vote accurately, and people must believe that they have counted those votes accurately. The second requirement is distinct from and just as important as the first. Now, here he says, likewise, with newspapers, we must be accurate and we must be believed to be accurate. It is a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing the second requirement, meaning people are not trusting anymore the news media. So most people believe that the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see is not paying attention to reality. And those who fight reality will lose. And I think here is where I see the biggest mistake of the Democrats, pushing this agenda of LGBTQ, messing with people's family. People do not want you messing with their kids, putting certain books in certain school. I think that triggered the skill significantly. And here he goes even further. Reality is undefeated champion. Reality will eventually win. It would be easy to blame others for our long continuing fall of credibility. It's easy to be a victim and point fingers to the other, and therefore decline in impact. But a victim mentality will not help. And I think here's where Democrats made a mistake. They keep on pushing this victim mentality. It doesn't help. Complaining is not any strategy. We must work harder to control what we can control to increase our credibility. Again, he did not support Donald Trump, but this post and refusing to support Democrats really, in my view, also helped to tilt the scale. And the most unbelievable of all helps, I couldn't believe this. I found this because I have a friend who is neighbors with Amish. He bought land around Amish community, and he's the one that brought this up to me. Now, the Amish population, they don't get involved in politics. Somehow, Donald Trump managed to pull together Afro-descendants, whites, Muslims, Jews, and above all, Amish. Amish people, they did not participate in politics, and they decided to do it this time. I know there's some headlines there about being fake news. This I got straight from a friend who bought land from the Amish. He lives surrounded by Amish, and he told me the Amish community got together and they decided to vote this time for Donald Trump. And I think the reason why they did this is because they saw the Democrats assaulting tradition. Tradition has worked, and I think the Amish are the greatest defenders of tradition. And so that was unexpected help that Donald Trump got from the Amish. So the question now is, what are the implications of Donald Trump's victory? And what could this mean for the global scale and cryptocurrency market? The greatest thing that I see here, again from Europe, is the escalation of conflict. To me, today, and I could be wrong about this, I'm saying this on the record, time is going to tell if I'm right or wrong, the war in Ukraine is over. The Republicans will not support Ukraine. Zelensky is going to have to come down and make some negotiation, and the fate of Ukraine is going to be the same fate of Georgia. Most people may not know this, Georgia in 2008, 2009 tried to be part of NATO. NATO played this proxy war, and they tried this with Georgia. Georgia lost 20% of their territory, 20% of the population, and today they're the best friends of Russia. Same thing is going to happen to Ukraine. They already lost 20% of their population, over 20% of their territory, and they are not going to get more funds. Poland is the second largest help, greatest help to Ukraine. Poland doesn't want to help anymore. It's beyond their means. And I think US is also going to stop that. So the de-escalation of conflict globally, I think, is the greatest benefit of the Republican victory and Donald Trump's victory. I'm really feeling much safer now in Europe. Another thing that we see is the markets have responded well. Markets, again, money, follow the money. Markets have greater trust on the US right now. This is the image of the dollar index is going up. And it's not just the dollar index. Cryptocurrencies are going up as well. S&P 500 is going up. But above it all, the dollar is becoming stronger in relation to other currencies. Here you can see it. So cryptocurrencies are doing extremely well. I didn't sleep last night. I was following the elections. And every time that started to look more like it, Donald Trump was going to win, Bitcoin went up. So it's beneficial to the crypto market. Another benefit that I think is going to happen, the US is going to have more friendly regulations towards cryptocurrencies, and Europe's going to have to copy that. So I think MiCA is going to have to be revised in Europe. Again, I could be wrong, but I can see a shifting approach in terms of legalization of cryptocurrencies in America is going to cause a shift in Europe as well. So it's very positive for those who own cryptocurrencies. And here is going to go beyond just information, in my opinion. I really believe if someone is against Bitcoin, I don't care what they're pro. Bitcoin is the greatest manifestation of property in the planet. It's the revival of money. It's the revival of the sacred creation of mankind called money. And if you are against private property, individual responsibility, I really don't care what you're pro. So someone in power, pro-Bitcoin, pro-cryptocurrencies, I think is fantastic. Now, with that being said, what is our actions? What should we be doing moving forward? I would not be celebrating the victory. I think there's a lot of more work to be done. I think this decision of this election, which in my view is the most important and significant election of the century, now that we have shift, we need to find what are next steps. There's a lot of work to be done. The first work I think is to be done for those who are in America. If you have tax cuts, if the cost of living goes down, inflation goes down, economically, the US becomes better. You need to capitalize on this opportunity. You should be saving that money, find a way to invest, find a way to save that money, not a way to spend and consume more. You cannot consume your way to sovereignty. You need to save and invest your way into sovereignty. So capitalize on this opportunity. The second one is, I think we need to stop being enemies of those who disagree with us. We need to continue creating spaces where we can have a dialogue without demonizing those who do not agree with us. This morning, we had, in my view, a great conversation in Clubhouse. Is one room that I know we don't agree. Some people are strong Democrats, some people are strong Republicans, but we talk and respect each other. There was one question asked this morning to a guy who is totally against Trump, from a guy who supports Trump, and say, are we still friends with these results? And to me, it was a beautiful answer to say, the guy say, I hold no animosity. We are friends. We're going to continue being friends. We need to be able to have conversations without demonizing those who do not agree with us. I think that is the one thing that the US needs to do immediately. I think that is the only way to stop the divide that happens within US and is also happening here in Europe. The third thing that I think we need to do is we need to prioritize financial education, especially now that tax cuts are going to be implemented in the US. You need to educate yourself financially, find out more about what Bitcoin is, find ways to have your money, not just in the fiat system, but understand how the economy works. Because once you understand how the economy works, you'll be able to make better decisions for yourself, and you definitely is going to be able to make better decisions on voting. I think those are the three steps. And the fourth, and to me, the most significant step is hold your politicians accountable. Donald Trump has promised many things. RFK has promised a few things. Hold everyone accountable. Make sure they're doing what they're promising you. This goes for all politicians, not just for this election, but always try to hold yourself and everyone else around you and your political leaders accountable. There are more things that you could do, but I think if we focus on those four things, we may be able to shift the direction in which the US is going. In my view, was not going in a good direction. I suggest those four steps on your personal level, on your family level, on your community level, and definitely on your politician level. Hold everyone accountable. So this is my message after this election. I'm going to give a little recap. We spoke about the Democratic Party, why Kamala lost support, how some support shift towards Donald Trump or just shift away from the Democratic Party, some of the implications of Donald Trump's victory, and the action steps we're moving forward. And finally, this election is over. It was the most significant election of the century. This year, more than 50% of the world population went to vote, but this was the most significant election, in my view at least. So with this, I invite you guys, if you want to be in more control of your money, please consider joining the Academy. Link for that on the description below. I'll stop sharing my mic now, and we're going to have a dialogue or conversation about the results of this election. Thank you guys for being here. The mic is yours now.
So you're happy?
I am very happy and relieved, and at least on the tension level, I think conflict not happening in Ukraine is the biggest benefit for us. I was like already concerned about having to live here, like on a drop of a hat, have some nuclear incident happening. I'm not talking about nuclear missile. I think if the conflict would have continued and they continue to squeeze Vladimir Putin, there could be an accident on Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. And I also feel there's a point of concern because the prime minister, the former prime minister of Netherlands is also in charge of NATO right now. And they were very aggressive towards Russia. I think now that US is going to maybe not be as aggressive towards Russia, the Europeans are not going to be able to go on that front with the same aggression. So to me, the de-escalation of violence and less people dying in wars is the greatest benefit. Regardless of cryptocurrency, to me, the cryptos going up is just a bonus. I really feel a relief in the sense of human lives not being at risk anymore and less conflict in the world and less chances of possible nuclear conflict or World War III, though. I'm very happy with the results. Yeah. You're awake with us as well, huh? Go ahead, Ross. Go ahead, Ross.
What
Go ahead.
about Israel's war in Gaza? What do you think about that? I mean, do you see that continuing as is, escalating, or because Netanyahu seems to be on, he has his own agenda, doesn't seem to be listening to anyone. But any thoughts on that?
I have listened to both parties on this. Before I say anything, I think it's very important for me to clarify a few things, Ross. I think the most horrible attack on the Jewish population, the most incredible act of terrorism, even exceeding 9/11, was what Hamas did on October 7th. I think that is like, I don't want like any woman that I know even seeing like a fraction of what actually happened on October 7th. And I understand the response and the need of response from Israel. And I also believe Israel has done a great job with Hezbollah on the north, the pagers, the walkie-talkies, fantastic work. I need to congratulate them on that. Now, the conflict in Gaza, I think there's a lot of vengeance desire. I understand that vengeful desire because of what happened, the magnitude of how evil what happened October 7 is. So I can endorse what's happening in Gaza right now. I can endorse the defense part. I cannot endorse, like, we have actually soldiers and different ranks posting crimes of war. That's how comfortable they're feeling in terms of taking vengeance. I think that war is much more complex than the conflict in Ukraine, in the sense that that war has never been allowed to be reach its full scale. And I think wars only can be solved once they reach their full scale, where there's so much pain, so much damage on both sides that both parties say, listen, we need to stop this, you know? And I don't think it's going to happen now. And I honestly have questions about Donald Trump's ability to diminish that conflict. It's a very different conflict. It's a much more complex conflict. And Israel is already losing support here in Europe. France is against Israel. Spain has shown some sign of being against Israel. I do not want to live in a world where Israel is not there. I see the need for Israel, but I think that conflict is much more complex and much more complicated. But not having Ukraine conflict, I think it'll be easier to focus on one conflict and see how can we diminish the damage on that conflict beyond what, like, before it goes beyond what it has been there. But that is a much different conflict, and I don't see an easy answer or a feasible answer to that conflict, given the situation that we have now. My fear is that the only solution that for that conflict will be reach levels of pain where it's just too damaging for both parties. I wish there to be a solution. I really hope that God presents a solution where we find something to slow down that or to diminish the intensity of that conflict, because there has been like tremendous level of atrocities beyond imagination and things that I don't feel like sharing ever with anyone on both parties. And that is a very difficult conflict to me. I don't see that coming down very easy without the West maybe not fully going against Israel and letting Netanyahu know that what is happening in Gaza is not okay. Did I answer you, Ross? I hope I didn't dodge the
Yes,
question.
no, that answers me. What about North Korea? You know, they've been making moves that people or media has been calling threatening, particularly with their last launch that they said could reach the mainland U.S. Any thoughts or whether or
Yes.
not Trump can have any influence
I
on
think
that?
I think he's already having influence on that, because here's the thing: if Trump stops supporting Ukraine, that puts Vladimir Putin on his debt, right? And because for better or worse, that is going to help Vladimir Putin. So Donald Trump say to Putin, listen, I'm pulling here, I'm de-escalating in Ukraine. I need to de-escalate there in North Korea. I think that can work, because we got here by escalation on top of escalation on top of escalation. And if Donald Trump starts to de-escalate, he now has some bargaining chip to negotiate. And he's a good negotiator. I think that's one thing we can be said about Donald Trump. I think he's a great negotiator. So I can see even North Korea having to de-escalate because of Ukraine. Because Vladimir Putin knows, like, if the West really gives a green light and provide like more equipment, Russia is going to get in a worse situation. So, and there's a dependence relationship between Russia and North Korea. So I think on those two fronts, there's going to be de-escalation. Now, the question that I ask, and I think is also going to happen, I think Donald Trump is going to remove some of the submarines and the nuclear support that there is in South Korea, and that will cause North Korea to de-escalate as well. Because one thing we need to understand, I know the narrative is, oh, the dictator alliance are pushing for this, but there has been provocations. I remember when Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, I was like, guys, that's a mistake. When I saw nuclear submarines coming to South Korea, I'm like, that's a mistake. When I saw they trying to pull Ukraine into NATO, I was like, that's a mistake. And I mean, for those who are following Clubhouse, those mistakes continue to happen, and we saw the escalation. So The only conflict that I think will still remain are some conflicts in Africa, which the West is not really concerned about. And I would say the other conflict will be the Middle East. And I think there may be some benefit to the escalation on North Korea and some bringing Russia closer. Because one thing we need to understand, Iran also is heavily dependent on Russia and China. So I think if there is some releasing tension between Russia and China, there's going to be less power on Iran side. And with less power on the Iranian side, there may be less need for increasing tension in Israel. The issue with Israel that I see is not so much Iran, but it's Gaza, West Bank, and Israel. That tension, I don't see how to de-escalate. I haven't seen any, but at least de-escalation around that area, like preventing that from extrapolating to the rest of the Middle East, I think that is going to start to happen. I really, to me, and I could be wrong, I already celebrate the end of the Ukrainian conflict today, and I can already see the escalation on the other conflicts. The only remaining conflict that we're going to have in the world that is a big conflict would be Israel itself, between the Palestinians, West Bank, Gaza, maybe the Houthis even, but there will be some escalation there as well.
Okay, last one, maybe.
Go for it.
But what
No,
about
no. Go ahead, please.
what about China and Taiwan? China's intention and, Taiwan. What do you
Okay.
think about that?
I think the following. Xi Jinping will make a move towards Taiwan before he dies. That is his promise. Like, that's his reason for remaining alive. That's his reason for taking care of his health. He wants to have that. He wants to be remembered in history for someone who brought Taiwan back, right? Now, the question is, and I recommend everyone here to read The Art of War. Xi Jinping is playing by the art of war by the comma, by the letter. And he was pushing. The greatest winner of the Ukraine war was China. If you guys have been following me in Clubhouse, I've been saying this for a very long time. There is one winner in this, and that is China, Xi Jinping. The de-escalation is bad news for Xi Jinping, because now the US is not spreading itself so thin to the point where Xi Jinping may be able to make a move. I think that move is going to happen, but it's going to be delayed. What was happened when the Biden sent Pelosi to Taiwan and all this, they were pushing that decision on Xi Jinping to happen faster. And when there was escalation of conflicts and the US is spreading themselves too thin, I saw that moment coming closer and closer where Xi Jinping would make that move. With the US not being involved in as much conflict, the Ukrainian conflict stopping, those are bad news for Xi Jinping in terms of his need to move towards Taiwan. Now, he doesn't have an enemy becoming weaker. He has to become stronger. Before, he was becoming stronger and the enemy was becoming weaker. Now, with the US not being involved in as much war, the enemy is going to start to get stronger, and now Xi Jinping has to get stronger as well. That will delay that invasion, and maybe we are lucky and Xi Jinping doesn't get to do this in his lifetime. And then the next leader doesn't feel like they have to bring Taiwan back into China. But Xi Jinping has made very clear that that was his goal in life. He doesn't want to go down without doing that. But I feel like that's going to be extended to a future. And if you get extended to a future, it's better for the West. It's better in the sense that China is going through some financial struggles themselves. Australia doesn't have any nuclear submarine. It's going to take another 10, 20 years for Australia to have their own supply of nuclear submarines and nuclear submarines. So I think right now there is another stretch that people were not aware of, but US was stretching themselves very thin, providing submarine security to Australia, which they're going to have to do for the next 15 years. So if that conflict of Taiwan happens, by the time the US manage to supply enough submarines to Australia, which is, by the way, much closer to China and to Taiwan, if it delays enough, I think the more it delays, the stronger the US and the West may become, and the weaker China is going to become, because Xi Jinping is making a lot of mistakes economically that is causing him as an economy and military to decline. So we may not see this in a lifetime, but this is a very small chance of this not happening. What I think is, like, in the worst case scenario, is going to happen, but it's going to happen with a weaker China and a stronger West. That's my hope. But it will happen, I think. The chance of that happening is very high because Xi Jinping does not want to die without doing that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your questions, Ross. And thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence and appreciate your perspective as well. So
Oh, I wouldn't miss
thank you.
this.
Thank you. Yeah.
I enjoy the sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think, Evelyn, thank you for all the content you're sharing and appreciate. I think Evelyn is very happy. Alchemist is happy with the victory of the Republicans. I'm not sure about the other people who are here. Maybe Maria is also in Canada, but Evelyn and Alchemist are the other two that are in America that I think are very happy with the results. How are you feeling, Evelyn, with the results? Maybe she can't speak. Alchemist, how are you feeling? I know we were together last night following this.
Feeling very good. Feeling very good. Prepared for yeah, very good. I think it's good for the world. I think it's good for the US. I think it's good for a lot of things. So good victory. Very important.
Yeah, geopolitically speaking, is the best for the world, and I hope there's greater benefit for the US domestically. I'm really hoping that there is a tax cut. I'm also hoping for increasing the quality of what you guys eat in America. It seems like RFK has that as his main plan, which is to take the amount of like chemicals and poison, for lack of a better word, that there is on the American food. And I'm also hoping that Elon Musk managed to diminish the size of government. I think those things will benefit the American population domestically. So, and fingers crossed, I really hope also that a lot of people realize 4 years from now, when the Constitution is not overthrown and when Donald Trump didn't become this dictator, that they will say, okay, maybe we are not as accurate in our view of things, though. So I'm also hoping for that. Any more questions, anyone? Or because I want to end today with something fun. So if there's no more questions, I want to do something fun for you guys, because that's how I felt at 7 a.m. this morning when I went to bed. So, Cora, any questions? Or just Ross?
Pack your bags, ladies and gentlemen. Time's running out.
Mine are already packed.
Yeah, that's right. Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. It's be ready. Be ready for some fireworks, I think, over the next couple months.
So I have some news for you guys. It's just an idea for now. It's not a plan, but there is a very good chance that it becomes a plan. Since some people here are in Mexico, I think Ross is getting her to Mexico sometime. I think also her sister is there. Marcos is there. And I think American people can easily come to Mexico or Panama. I think we can have the idea and then maybe make a concrete plan to bring myself to to Mexico or Panama, so you guys can meet in Central America. So, and if I come there, I want to see you, Ross. You and Notorious are going to have to come. That is a non-negotiable. Evelyn as well. Depending on how healthy is, I want to make sure we meet. I'm not going to stand on American territory, but I will come close enough to meet you guys. So same thing for Alchemist. And if there's no more question, I want to give you guys 30 seconds of some fun. So here we go.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up.
Yes, guys. So to me, it was not a victory just for the Republicans. It was a victory for cryptocurrencies. So, and Bitcoin has shown that very clearly. Last night we were again following the elections, and as chances of Donald Trump winning increased, Bitcoin just started to go up, broke a new all-time high. So at least for those holding cryptocurrencies, which I believe is the reason why you guys are here, that was a great victory for cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. So let's celebrate, because we were like needing some good news on the crypto space for a while. So I hope the SEC is going to be changing and regulations are going to be changing in America, and we're going to have a better, brighter future for cryptocurrencies. At least that I think is something that we can expect and hold everyone accountable for. Go ahead, Cora.
No, I just remember that Gary Gensler is gonna be fired now.
Yes, he is.
Finally.
I'm so happy.
And to me, it's just incredible. Like, I remember the first time I mentioned to Cora the name Gensler, and she was like, who is that? Which planet is this from? Like, is that for me to eat? Is that a fruit? What is that? Now she's celebrating him being fired. Go ahead, Evelyn.
Well, I think that there's going to be a mass exodus of a lot of people in the United States. They're going to deport themselves because they are, running very scared right now. They're talking about sharing jail cells.
Oh, there's that too, Evelyn. There's a lot of illegal things that has happened from the Democratic Party, and yes, thank you for bringing that up. Maybe we should make a video about this, but yes, there's some. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
well,
if this.
Diddy told everybody to go to Asia.
Yes, the Diddy scandal is another thing that is really is carrying a lot of the Democrats. Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing that up, Evelyn. Maybe we should make a presentation about that, though. But it is a point of concern. But you are happy, huh, Evelyn? Go ahead, Cora.
No,
Go ahead,
but
Cora.
what about Exodus?
Oh, Evelyn, you want to talk about that a little bit more, so she knows what we're talking
Well,
about?
it was like when Trump became president the first time, all the illegals left the country. Most of them. They deported themselves, all the illegals that had come in under them. Can you imagine the exodus that's going to occur right now under these circumstances? If they aren't turned into, the mobs that they want to turn them into. But either way, I don't think that they're going to get a foothold here now. Because a lot of them are televising that they're going to be sharing jail cells. They're really, really afraid of going to prison for what they've done because they know that they created a coup. Kamala was never elected by anyone. She didn't get not one vote, which is totally illegal. They usurped the election process, and Biden is mad as hell.
There was a scandal with Didi, Cora. I'm not sure if you saw on the news. There are some Democrats that are on that list of things. There is like a very long case. It's very painful to read. We are reading some of that page last night. There are some Democrats that has been involved on that, and if they continue, I think now with this legal process, I think that's what Evelyn is referring to. Some people are going to have to leave the U.S. or face judicial system. And the Supreme Court now is pretty much Democrat. We saw the Senate is a Democrat, Congress. I'm sorry, Republican. The Supreme judges are a Republican. The Democrats have lost Senate. They have lost the House of Congress, governors. So it seems like now Donald Trump is going to have, and the Republicans are going to have the possibility to push judicial justice for those Democrats who have been involved on the Diddy scandal. I mean, please don't ever read that those pages. We were looking at this last night. It's really like another thing that is beyond imagination of what happened with the Diddy scandal. Is that what you're referring to, right, Evelyn?
That is on one point, but then again, we're talking about the mainstream media for their propaganda and going against the rules of journalism. You have the DOJ that weaponized against Trump on unfounded accusations. You have Homeland Security allowing the immigrants to come in unvetted. That just goes against what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to protect the nation. There are so many violations on so many levels. The FBI misusing its
Authority?
its authority and covering up. Look at the Biden thing. You know, that skewed the last election.
Yeah, the laptop from
And
hell.
yes, and you know, there's a lot of things like that. The fabrications against Trump, the whole thing about you know, those accusations ran out of time. They weren't supposed to actually entertain it, but they revived it because they changed a lot of the laws to fit what they wanted to be done. They did a lot of legal things.
Yeah, I made some joke with some friends here in Europe. I'm like, I think Donald Trump should change his name for Jason Trump, you know? He's like Jason from Friday 13, no matter what they do. The guy's still
Well, I'm
standing.
sure he took names down and he has an agenda for sure, because this cannot be allowed. I mean, this goes totally against the Constitution. And people just need to be schooled in the Constitution and the law under the Constitution and all the illegalities. And, you know, the Federal Reserve is another illegal entity. There's a lot
That
of
is,
things.
yeah.
There's a
The-
lot of things that are wrong, totally.
yeah.
And they'll come out little by little because they have, I don't know how many indictments, in the thousands, and they're unsealing them one by one. And when you unseal one, they have like thousands of people attached to that. So
Oh,
it's who knows how many years this is going to take to clean out, really, seriously, because it's
yeah.
so huge, the contamination. And then, you know, the purchasing or the buying of the senators by China, Russia, and all the other countries involved, some that you wouldn't even suspect. But my thing is, I want to see that what the hell is his name now? The one who bought the radio stations.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the
What
one,
happened
the
to
one, the one who did the what is it called, the Rainbow Revolution?
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting his name. I want to see him face trial. I want to see him. I want to see Gates for the massacre that they did with the pharmaceutical companies. I want to see it all. I want to see their heads on a chopping block.
Wow. Yes, wow, that's Ross shared with us.
Oh,
I Soros, yeah.
Soros. I want Soros.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to see.
So Ross shared with us. I just want to end with this, but I really like. Part of me hopes that Donald Trump doesn't pursue so much vengeance because I think that's going to divide more. I want to see America united. But this is something that Rosalind shared with us. Record numbers of wealthy Americans are making plans to leave the U.S. after the election. So here we have it. We can speak more about that on another event, but thank you, Rosalind, for sharing this. I think Lali just joined us, but we are coming to an end. It's the top of the
Yeah,
hour.
but the justice system in America will get you no matter where you are if you're under indictment. You know that.
That's true. They
So they
managed
can run,
to.
but they can't hide. A crime is a crime.
Yes. Go ahead, Carl.
I'm just going to say thank you. I've got to leave.
Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Lali. Thank you, Rosalind, Alchemist, Raymond, and Margit. The most significant election.
Thank you.
The most important election of the year is over, and to me, great victory for cryptocurrencies and de-escalation of conflict in the globe. I think those are the two main victories, and I hope you guys can benefit from this and take advantage of this. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all. See you guys. Some of you guys will see tomorrow on Clubhouse or in Academy. If I don't see you guys, great weekend. Stay safe. See you guys next